Tales from Fright Town, Part 3, by Breinholdt. After I had gotten the knife, I walked back outside to see that the sewer plant was trying to wrap around Martin's neck. I then quickly ran over to cut the plant thing, but instead of cutting the part that was choking him, I decided that it would be better to cut it as close as I could to the sewer drain. When I cut the plant root thing, it started to squirt dark red liquid everywhere that almost looked like blood. But it tasted like Monster Energy. The green one. And no, I didn't taste the blood, I just got some in my mouth. Now that I think about it, what is really in Monster Energy anyway? And what is the green monster supposed to taste like? Sorry, I came a little off topic there. So, after getting sprayed with the monster juice, Claudia and I cut the rest of the roots off of Martin's body. When we were finally done, Martin was soaked in the liquid. I checked his pulse and luckily found it, because I really didn't want to bury someone again. I saw that Claudia took one of the roots and put it in a small plastic bag that she had in her pocket, before pushing the rest of them down into the sewer again. While she was pushing the root things back down into the sewer drain again, I carried Martin back into the store. And because I know somebody is going to ask how I just lifted a grown dude without any problems, I'll say this. I'm a pretty big guy, and he's a pretty small guy. I left Martin on the counter and went back to the lost and found box to get him some clean clothes. I don't know why, but there's a lot of clothes in the lost and found box, even if you would think that's something that's hard to forget in a small kiosk in a town. I got him a Queen t-shirt. Not the band, but the real Queen. A pair of leather jeans and some old run-down punk shoes, the kind with spikes. I walked out of the storage room to see Claudia was already taking Martin's clothes off. I found this weird since I hadn't told her that I was going to get him a clean set, but who cares? I walked up to her and started to help. We had gotten pretty much everything off of him when I heard the bell that signals that someone has entered the store ringing. I turned around to see an old woman. She looked like she had just seen a ghost. Her eyes were completely wide and she looked shocked and afraid. Before I could get a word out, she opened the door and left in a hurry. I totally understand why. She had just walked in on two people stripping another person who was covered in what looked like blood. We didn't say a word before continuing. When we were finally done, Claudia looked at me and said, I kind of have other plans for today, so I'll be going, but if you see something interesting, give me a call. She handed me a paper with a number written on it. I accepted it with a nod and said, cool. We looked at each other in silence before she added, well, you can also call if you just want to talk. About stuff. Well, I need to go, so bye. And then she left. About half an hour after Claudia had left, Martin finally woke up. He jumped up screaming, before going completely silent, and he looked at me and said, what happened? With a more calm voice than I had expected. I put down my book and said, do you want the long version or the short? It took him about 5 seconds before answering, the short. Okay, I said. You got clocked by a plant and then covered in Monster Energy blood. He looked confused, but I think that he accepted it. I patted him on the shoulder and said, back to work, the store doesn't clean itself. He sighed before going into the storage room to get a broom. After about 20 minutes, I heard Martin calling my name. I walked over to him and saw that he had pulled back the door rug and there was a trap door under it. I instantly knew what was under it. The tunnels. The tunnels are exactly what they sound like. Tunnels. They've been here for as long as the town has, but no one knows who built them. People in the town speculate that they were created by a cult that used to be in the town, so that they could kidnap young women and sacrifice them to their ancient god. There's no facts to support this theory, except that all the buildings have a way into the tunnel. There's a lot of theories about the tunnels, but the only important thing is that almost everybody that has gone down into them hasn't made it back out again. I learned this the hard way when a good friend went down there and never came back. She wanted me to come with her, but I had heard the stories, and I didn't want to take the risk. But they didn't stop her. It's a hard thing to talk about, and that's a whole nother story. Martin looked up at me. "Should we open it?" he asked. "No," I responded before putting the rug back over the trapdoor. I don't think that Martin had heard the stories because he looked at me with a questioning look. I looked at the clock and realized that Martin's shift had ended 10 minutes ago. After I told Martin, he left and I cleaned up the store. Sorry for the shorter post than usual, but it would just end on a cliffhanger if I continued with the other journal entries. I will post again in a couple of days, and to the person that messaged me about the town's location, I won't tell where it's located, since I don't want the responsibility of somebody's death on my hands again.